Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Truth Tuesday, where our motto is know the truth so you can be set free. I'm so excited about today's episode. I have a very special guest by the name of Dr. Caroline Christo. She's a psychologist, and this woman is a diamond in the rough. She typically does not do live broadcasts, so this is going to be a treat, and I'm so honored to have her on my broadcast today for the first time. And she's just going to be answering some questions today about the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic on mental health. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on to our broadcast Dr. Caroline Christo. 1 second. Dr. Christo, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon,
Okay.
Sam.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit, so let's wait a bit.
Okay.
Okay, let's try you again.
All right. How is that?
You're a little crackling up a bit.
Okay. Is that better?
Still, let's just do test.
Okay.
Test. 1, 2.
Test. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. I don't know why
It's still crackling.
Let's see. Let's continue. Hopefully it clears up.
Okay. How is that so far?
How does it sound on your end?
It sounds great. On my end, it sounds great. Very clear.
Okay. So hopefully it's just something that I'm hearing and they can hear you on their end.
I hope so.
Can you guys let us know? Can you hear Dr. Christo well? Let's see what the comments say. Sounds good there. Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. Awesome.
All right.
Perfect. All right. So let's just dig right in. So, Dr. Christo, from your experience, what does the pandemic, your professional opinion, what does the pandemic mean for mental health?
Oh, my goodness. It has meant more than we would have wanted it to mean. The pandemic has come to mean depression, anxiety, isolation, a poor economy, which has contributed to so many things, as most of you already know. Organized crime in some areas. It has meant parents who are not teachers to be suddenly become homeschoolers. It has meant stress, a lot of stress and anxiety. And it has affected businesses, travel, everything. I mean, our lives were turned upside down for some of us. And so it has come to mean a lot of pain also with all the deaths that have taken place and with the depression. It has come to mean pain for some.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that and can see that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So with the pandemic, in March, they put us on a lockdown, and there's been a lot of just like everybody's kind of reacting in real time as to how to best handle this, how to stop the spread of COVID, and just trying to make sure that people stay well. But do you think that mental health is something that is being taken into consideration when coming up with the laws to protect people from COVID? Like quarantine and social distancing, is that, and all these lockdowns, do you think that our mental health is being, I understand that this is going to protect our physical health, but in terms of like our mental health, how does this affect us?
So we cannot expect the government to be therapists. They're not.
Yeah.
I think the government is overall focusing on how they can benefit the majority. Sadly, in trying to protect us, we've been isolated. The holidays have meant something totally different. We just had Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It has been one of the most depressing period that I've seen for some of my patients and clients. So I commend the government for doing its best to protect our physical health. And sadly, our mental health has been significantly impacted as a result.
Yeah.
So it is not the government's intent, but sadly, that is what has occurred in the process of protecting our physical health. We
Yeah.
have ended up being not, some of us not contracting COVID, but some individuals being severely depressed, unfortunately. But I do thank the government for taking the best measures to protect us physically, but also to um, find ways of providing services to individuals who are suffering from depression, and funding businesses like myself. The
Yeah.
business, the PPE program, definitely supported has kept our doors open, definitely. So we can't have both. Something has to give, and in this case, our mental health sadly has
It's
given.
a given. Yeah. Have you noticed, has it been more challenging now? Have you noticed a change with your patients that you've had? And during this time, have things gotten harder for them, easier for some, or like what have you noticed? Because you speak to patients every day and can kind of have like, a good perspective on the different challenges and things that people are facing. So what have you noticed?
So what I've noticed is definitely not necessarily in my practice, but
Yeah,
suicide rates have gone up nationally.
yeah,
In my practice, I have noticed definitely more depression.
yeah.
People that were depressed. I work with a lot of veterans. I've noticed my veterans get severely depressed. I've
Mhm.
noticed a lot of moms, a lot of dads get severely depressed with the isolation. I've
Mhm.
also noticed a lot of addictions increase. Domestic violence went up.
Yeah,
Kids have been more abused, definitely in the home.
mhm.
So any bad thing that could go wrong, unfortunately, went wrong in many ways. So
Yeah.
definitely suicide ideation. I've never in my life seen such high numbers in suicidal ideation in my caseload in our practice.
Now, what is suicide ideation for those of us who are not familiar with that term? What does that mean?
That means people contemplating suicide more
Oh,
often than not, thinking about killing themselves, ending their lives, also self-harm to self and others sometimes. But the ideation is mostly people finding themselves preoccupied with death and
yeah.
possibly wanting to die if they could have that opportunity. But
Yeah.
also we have had in our community, unfortunately, in our high school,
Hmm.
some teenagers have taken their lives, sadly. Sadly.
Oh, man, that's so sad.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So, for you personally, has your with everything like everything changing, like people on lockdown and not able to, meet in person, how has your business been affected? Do you still meet with your clients in person, or is everything on Zoom now? Like, what is the change in that?
So sadly, this is a bittersweet for us. So we have had a lot of calls. Of course, this is our field, mental health.
Yeah,
We've had a lot of people calling for depression and anxiety, more than we can see, more than we can serve. Unfortunately, we've had to make a lot of referrals.
yeah,
Our services did change tremendously. We have to provide all our services via telehealth, so phone or video conferencing, a lot of Zoom. How
mhm,
that has impacted us and our clients or patients is that we tend to love that physical face-to-face presence. We've not been afforded that, unfortunately, due to COVID and distancing, and the liability of having individuals come to the office.
mhm.
So that's how our business has been affected. But in terms of increasing individuals needing services, you bet we've had numerous calls. We have a waiting list of individuals that need to be seen, need to be called back.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I mean, I guess it's good, but kind of, sad at the same time.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
have you been making adjustments easily? How hard has it been for you to adjust to this? Has it been a difficult transition for you, or have you been taking it pretty well?
Initially, it was a difficult transition, but it's a bittersweet one for me. I have found I had to learn a new way of connecting with people. So I've had some clients or patients that did not want to do telehealth. Some individuals do not trust the airwaves, so they've just wanted to stick with the old-fashioned telephone. So as a provider, as a clinician, I have found that I needed to connect more in depth on a non visual level, or more on a spiritual level, I would say. I've had to show my care and concern using my voice or using a prayer, more than likely, but finding ways of building that initial rapport with individuals whom I've never seen. They've never seen me, probably went to my website and saw a picture of me, which I probably look very different now. But I've never seen these individuals, but through voice, I feel that we have known each other for a long time. So as a clinician, I felt that I have learned to reach beyond the face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball type of service provision, which it's a skill I believe that I've come to learn and develop, and a different way of reaching without having that physical connection or physical presence.
Wow, that's amazing. I commend you for that, because I'm sure there's a lot of therapists who haven't been able to figure it out, and for you to just intuitively say, okay, this is a situation, this is what needs to be done. I need to figure out a way of connecting with my clients, and just figuring that out and adjusting your therapy style to meet this crazy situation that we're all in. I commend that.
Definitely, it has taught me to listen differently because I've had to listen more keenly and develop my sense of hearing. Because when somebody's in front of me and they're crying, I can see they're crying.
Yeah.
But now I've had to listen and say something along the lines of, I cannot see you right now, but I sense or hear as though you're crying. Am I correct? And then develop that from there. If they say yes, or there's a moment of silence. So
Mhm.
I've really learned to compensate my vision with my ears,
Ears.
which if there's something good that came out of COVID, that would be one of them. And there are a few things that did, but I believe that that was one of them.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. That's great that you're able to do that. So now on to just some practical things. Like, what are some practical tips that you can give to our viewers on ways to care for their mental health during these challenging times that we're in?
So before that, I would like for people to really come to understand the impact that this pandemic has had. And this pandemic has had an impact on, of course, couples, families, children, teachers, on almost every individual imaginable.
Yeah.
So this pandemic has affected how we communicate. It has affected our expectations. It has
Yeah.
also affected all our responsibilities. Never in my life did I think I would homeschool my children and work a full-time job, run a household, and everything else that we have to do. So it has also impacted our time spent, of course, the homeschooling and our work. So
Yeah.
once we understand what areas have been impacted, then we're able to know what to do. So in
Yes.
the area of communication, it's important that we communicate more. When we are all working full time, we've never really had time to stay home and talk things through. So
Yeah.
it's important for people to realize or figure out what area of their communication has been impacted in this process, and improving that, how we communicate with our children. It's also important to know what our expectations have been. This is not the time to have those high expectations, not only on yourself, but also on your children. This is not that time to expect all A's. If your children are usually A students and they bring B's, welcome those B's and know that there's something going on. The COVID is going on. What
Yeah.
I've come to, the analogy that I've come to draw is, this is the time to, when you have a broken leg and your doctor tells you don't put pressure on it,
Yes.
that's what is going on right now. Let's not put more pressure on ourselves, on our emotional states, because something is broken. Our whole lives were turned around. So let's lower our expectations and not put pressure on that leg that is broken. Let's reduce maybe our responsibilities and shift our responsibilities around. Let's also spend more time together. If there's something that COVID offered me is definitely being home every day. I get to see my kids almost at every hour. Let's realize the pressures of homeschooling and not be so demanding of what we would ask for in those regular times, and our work as well. Let's be more flexible. If there's something I've learned about COVID, is definitely being flexible.
Yeah.
So some tips are, let's follow the CDC guidelines. I know that sometimes some of the guidelines don't make sense, but
Mhm.
I have chosen to err on caution. Err on caution.
Yeah.
I have this, another way of coping is to create distractions for yourself.
Mhm.
Find things to do that help you not remain so focused on the negative impacts of this pandemic. Go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. Those things that always worked. Those things that you learned that, start early or prepare early. Now that we have these different roles, let's prepare early. Monitor your stress level. Please
Yeah.
monitor your stress level. I've had to do that for myself. When I'm in session and my kids are knocking on my door, my stress level kind of goes up, even though
Yeah.
I told them not to. But that's where the flexibility comes in. If anything, I found that people are very, very understanding of the stress. If they hear a dog barking in the background, your kid in the background, people have
Yeah.
become more flexible and understanding. Let's continue that. Ask for help. Ask for help. If
Mhm.
you need the help, find somebody you can confide in or a professional and get that help that you want. So if there's some 5 tips that I would give are those, and I can recapitulate, definitely follow the guidelines that we've been given. Some of
Yeah.
them may not make sense to you, but err in caution for your sake
Mhm.
and for your children's sake. Create some distractions. Go for walks in the neighborhood. Do things that you've not done before. Go back to the basics, just the planning, the breathing, easy
Yes.
breathing, open the door, breathe fresh air, just
Yes,
the
yes,
basics.
yes.
Keep the
The
things
basic
simple
stuff.
and basic.
Yes,
Yes.
that's
Monitor
so
your stress
powerful.
level.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Monitor
yes,
your stress level for sure. And asking for help. You're not weak for asking for help. Actually, you're strong when you ask for help
yes,
because you're acknowledging that there is something that you need. And by seeking to have that need met, that's a
yes.
strength.
Wow, that's so good. Thank you so much. I hope everybody's taking notes. That was like so much useful information right there. Florence Zilko says, "My kids will thank you for that. No pressure," and I thank you for that because I tend to be kind
Awesome.
of like
Awesome.
a overachiever kind of person, and before COVID, we all had our plans and everything that we had
Yes.
envisioned for this year, and it can be easy to feel like, oh, now what do I do now?
Yes.
But really, like what you said about just, breathing and getting back to the basics. Like I found like early in the pandemic, my husband and I, we were engaged at the time. We would just go for bike rides or just go and have ice cream, like stuff that
Yes.
I used to do when I was, 9 years old with my best friend, and the things that you just kind of get away from because life just gets in the way and you become so like career minded and, got to get good
Yes.
grades and all of that. Like I
Yes.
found myself getting back to those basic things. And that was really, really therapeutical for me because it's
Yes.
like, we're all in this situation, like, so what's important, like my significant other, that's important, my family is important, those are the things that are constant. And everything is so changing and chaotic right now, but those are the things that matter. So
Yes. Those
that
simple
was,
pleasures, what I hear you talk about, Sam, are those
yeah,
simple pleasures. A bike ride. I saw some pictures of you on Facebook smelling flowers, smelling the roses. I know it sounds
yes.
cliche, but just taking moments to just stop
Smell
and
the
smell
roses.
the roses.
Yes,
Yes, time
yes,
management and pacing,
yes,
but also family communication by spending more time together, improving that communication. Couples, I urge you to sit down and say, okay, what needs fixing? Now that we have time, what do you need me to improve, or what do we need to improve as a couple or as a family or as parents? Definitely being flexible. Being flexible. My goodness, those are some of the things this pandemic has taught me. Not knowing, are we going to open? Are we not opening? Are we going back to the office? Are we not? If we go, what do we need to do? Okay, no, we're not going. When are we going to go back? Do we continue paying the mortgage? Do we? just not knowing. So just remaining flexible and kind of just rolling with it. Definitely, I've found that COVID has taught me gratitude, just being grateful that I can still eat. I cried the other day seeing the lines that people were out there in the cold. Um, People were out in the cold waiting for food.
Mhm.
So I've had to be even more grateful for what I have.
Yes.
I remember seeing on TV a dad, I believe, or a family, they ran out of gas, waiting in line to go to the food bank.
Mm,
Oh man, was I grateful. So just having that spirit of
me
gratitude,
too.
not that I have and they don't have, but my God, I just being grateful for what we
Yeah.
have.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, I think about that too all the time. Like, because I've had a journey with, I'm very passionate about mental health because I've had a journey, I've experienced it myself,
mhm.
just from a very young age. And, I've learned to manage it. And, but I always think about like those people on Skid Row who
Yes.
are suffering with mental illness. But, me, I have the luxury of, being in a beautiful home and doing whatever I need to do, but these people are on the street sleeping in a tent, you know
Yes.
and having to deal with that on top of COVID, on top of, and so really just puts me in a place of gratitude. Like I really have nothing to complain about because
Yes.
you know God is taking good care of me. So it's just those, I like you said, like having those moments of gratitude and appreciation because things could be so much worse.
Oh, for sure. For sure,
Yeah.
Sam.
Yeah. And also saying a prayer for those people, not like, I'm just saying, oh, I'm good and they're not, like really just really empathizing with them. And that's a passion of mine to be able to help the homeless one day.
Yes.
Yeah. In whatever way that I can, because I don't know, I've always had a heart for them.
Yeah,
So,
so yes, in being grateful for what we
yeah.
have, finding opportunities to help, finding opportunities
Yeah.
to support others. And one of those opportunities that we have and are creating is a YouTube channel, and we will be informing people of that, where
Yeah.
we can support one another and be able to answer questions for those people who have them, but not act as mental health professionals, but just be there as a support to answer those questions. So we will be definitely putting that out there for individuals who may need to come every so often. We want to know what the community needs, the Facebook community and any other community, and so we can answer these questions and be there as a support for the community at large. So we will be announcing that
Awesome. Yeah. Let me
shortly.
know so I can post it on my page as well.
Yes, yes. It'll be a YouTube channel, and that will be sometime this week. We'll get that going.
Okay. Awesome. Now, this question is for the older community of my followers. I've always had a heart for the elderly as well, and I noticed that a lot of them are not. They weren't raised with how my generation were into therapy and seeking a counselor. There's no stigma attached to that. A lot of
Mhm.
them, they're more so they get their therapy by going to church. And with the pandemic, a lot of churches have been closed down, and we've been in quarantine and they're having to adjust even at age 50, 60, 70 to doing church online and
Yes.
Zoom and all these things. Like they're already not like very technologically savvy, but now
Mm.
they're having to worship online. So what advice can you give to the older generation who's quarantined at home with no more church community because many churches have canceled meeting in person, and even if their church was open, they probably wouldn't go because they're considered at risk.
Yes.
Um, how do you suggest that they care for their spiritual and mental health during these challenging times, aside from like what they've been doing with Zoom? But like you said, there's something to meeting in person and being able to hug someone and
Yeah.
all of those things that they're not getting right now because they're in quarantine or
Oh,
locked.
yeah. It's an unfortunate reality. Definitely an unfortunate reality. What can I say, Sam? Hang on to it. Hang on to your God as you know Him and your God as you understand Him. And maybe this is a time to not be distracted by your neighbor in the church, but to really focus in on what God means to you during this difficult time.
Yeah.
Definitely continue worshiping as best as you can.
Yeah.
Some people formed groups on Facebook, and thank God to those men and women of God, those pastors, those leaders who are continuing to preach the word, and thank God for the airwaves. What can we do? We can only reach out and do the best that we can do to continue feeding our souls, our spirits, and there's no other way outside of, yes, watch that. Watch. The beautiful thing about spirituality is it's not limited to a building, it's not limited to a house. It's your heart and your relationship with your creator and your God as you understand him. So definitely it's a sad reality, but continue those phone sessions. I've had prayer meetings on the phone, prayer meetings on Zoom. This is where our flexibility comes in. This
Yeah.
is where we reach out in different ways outside of the physical way of meeting. Don't stop, just continue. If I may say this, and I hope this makes sense, we are at the beginning of the end. The end in terms of COVID, thankfully, is not going to last forever. There's the vaccine coming. There's hope. There's hope. So hang on to God as you know him and as you understand it, to each other as you best can. Call each other, pray with each other, find ways of communing or coming together as best as you can
I
with
love
this
that.
new reality. It's our new reality. There's no way around it. There's no
Yeah.
way around it.
I love that perspective when you just said that we're at the beginning of the end, because I hadn't even thought of it that way, because I just kind of accepted that we're going to be in this forever. But just like anything, everything comes to an end. There's always a start and an end to
It
something,
does.
and
I
there'll
had
be
a
a
friend
different
who,
challenge.
yes, I had a friend who said tough times don't last. Tough times don't last, tough people do. We have to outlast this vaccine, and the only way to do it, I don't know any other way than to be a support to somebody, and also a spiritual person, praying person, reaching out to God and others, not just for help, but reaching out to also help them out as they help me. Pray for myself as I pray for others, or pray for others as I pray for myself.
Amen. So, with everybody being more so in isolation right now, and me personally, I've never really been into the watching too much of the news and the media, but with everything going on right now and needing to stay informed, how would you best advise that our listeners can stay informed, but at the same time not? I guess I'm being like biased right now, but like, would you say that watching the news is like good or bad for mental health, and how can we take in all the information, but at the same time care for our mental health?
So the truth is that we have to be informed. We have to remain
Yes.
informed. What I urge everyone to do is to realize what what the impact the news has on you. For me, I know I cannot watch news the first thing in the morning. It will
Yeah.
impact me. I cannot watch it the last thing at night before I go to bed. I will
Yeah.
most likely stay awake or dream about it. So you yourself need to know and self-regulate on your intake and how it impacts you. If you
Yeah.
find that you get more and more depressed watching the news, then you may not want to watch the news. You may find ways of hearing it. You're going to hear it anyhow. You're going to hear from people, or from just flipping channels, or somebody's going to talk to you about it. But
Yeah.
the key thing here is not the news per se, but how it impacts you when you watch it or when you listen to it. So you
Yes.
may have to just regulate how much you take in and when.
Yeah.
So you have to be responsible and aware of how much anxiety or how much depression watching the news uh, does to you, or how it impacts you. So taking personal responsibility, almost like the food that we eat. Some food sits well with us, some food doesn't.
Doesn't.
How much? Maybe you can eat just a little bit, or not eat at all. Or same thing with the news intake.
Yeah.
But the media will do what the media does as best as they can. So knowing that, it is also important to decipher to chew the hay and throw out the sticks.
Yes.
Take in information and analyze it for yourself.
Yeah.
and take in what is helpful and put aside to what you do not find helpful. Take in what does the information that does not cause you fear, and remain prayerful, because most news has not been good news. Most of it, not all of it.
Yeah.
But I pray that as days change and as seasons change, that we will have better news. But the key thing is to know how it impacts you and how it affects your mood
Yes.
on a
Be
daily
aware of that, because
basis.
some people might not even be aware. They're just thinking, I'm watching the news. They don't see how it's affecting their mood, their mental health, all of those things, because
Exactly. So self-awareness is key.
self-awareness is key.
Self-awareness, living in the moment. So there's a couple questions that I urge people to ask themselves.
Hmm.
What is going on is the first
Hmm.
question.
Yes.
How does it make me feel is the second question. What does it make me think is the third question.
Hmm.
What is it that I need is the fourth question. And the fifth question is, what is it that I need to do to get my need met? So if you take a moment to ask yourself those questions and execute each and every one of the questions accordingly, at the end, you will know what you need to do. And what that is taking control of the situation by
Yeah.
assessing how it impacts you, how it makes you feel, what it makes you think, what it is that you need, and what is in your control to do so that you can take care of yourself. And if you ask yourself those five questions in every situation that you find yourself,
So,
by the end, and pay attention and answer each and every question, you will find that you have control of your situation.
wow, that's so powerful. And I do follow that myself as well.
Good,
So
good,
I'll
good,
post
good. It
those for those
works.
of you who would like to um, have those same filters to kind of filter your thoughts through. I'll post that after this as well. I think it's very
Yes,
helpful.
it works.
Um, yeah, so I have a very diverse following or fan base, but a lot of my followers are in the music industry because that's the field that I'm in, which has been very negatively affected by COVID. I know you're not a music industry expert, but like our industry, for example, the touring industry has come to a standstill. That many musicians like that, are in my field, session singing and touring work, you know, they might not be back on the road until 2022. So this has been very challenging for us. What advice can you give to someone in my industry to maintain good mental health and keep a positive perspective during these challenging times?
So, studies have been shown that when individuals are not being productive, when they're not letting their creative juices flow, they will tend to become depressed, feel hopeless, and of course, experience some anxiety. So, to you, creative people in the industry, don't stop creating, just continue creating. This is where your flexibility comes in. Find different ways of creating your music, your creation. Sing more, dance more, write more, even more so. Just because you do not have that public forum or face to face, find ways of continuing to explore and share your gift. I've seen some amazing videos of musicians. Sam, you are one of them who I've seen your music. I've read your poems. I've, I've enjoyed your creation and through this pandemic. I mean, don't stop. Don't stop. So
Yeah.
continue doing that. Continue singing these healing songs. Continue because they're needed. So if our gift stops at no physical connection, then how do we heal? But by you, Sam, continuing to sing, by you continuing to write those poems, by you continuing to broadcast, we're healing. So continue definitely with your gifts. You will get more depressed if you stop. And thank God that your gift is not limited to a physical audience. Thank
Yeah.
God for the airwaves. So you even probably have a larger audience now that you can
Yeah.
stream and send your gift to. So to those artists out there, don't stop. Keep creating, keep singing, keep dancing. You are bringing healing to a lot of people.
Yes. Me personally, I guess a big thing that I've learned is just not to be versatile. Like, you know, I've always thought of myself as a singer songwriter, but this pandemic, or even prior to that, I started seeing that God was saying, don't put yourself in a box. I've given you more
Yes.
gifts. So even just doing, like you said, doing the broadcast and,
Yes.
you know, a lot of times when you're a touring or a session singer, you think, oh, I can't put myself on social media. What if people don't take me seriously? Just little things like that. So just stepping out of those, I guess, you know, whatever things that I was telling myself that is just not true. And then like I've been applying to go back to school, just finding different things to do. Different building different muscles again that I kind of have put to the side over the years, and
Yes.
you know, writing poems and things like that. T-shirt, just using my creativity, not just channeling my creativity into one aspect,
Yes.
but really seeing that I can be creative in different things as well. And
Yes.
yeah, just being innovative. I think that's a good
Oh, definitely,
right.
Sam. I am not one to broadcast or video. I don't like the camera, but
Yeah,
one sure thing that I would like to definitely venture into, like I said, is a YouTube channel so that we can reach people in a different way. I've
yes,
found even ministers to say this, that they're holding conferences in Africa while they're here. So that's the flexibility that has been required of us.
yeah,
I never thought I would even want to broadcast anything. So I like what you said, to for us to come out of this box that we
yeah,
had before. So if there's one other good thing among many that COVID has taught us, is to not use one channel of reaching individuals. I certainly look forward to hearing from people from France, from my hometown, Kisii, from Kenya,
yeah,
and people asking questions, because the YouTube channel will facilitate that. They can
yeah.
come on and ask questions and let other people know about that. So definitely no longer in a box. No longer in a box. Our creativity is now no longer limited. We have no reason not to reach
Mhm.
people en masse.
Yeah, which is great. And so one of our viewers, Florence Silco, she's been very attentive here. She's asking about addiction. We haven't really talked about that. How can
Mhm.
people cope with addiction during this time, with no job, at home, with triggers all around? And I guess that kind of also, I had a question about what advice can you give to people who are feeling hopeless, depressed, suicidal? So I guess it's all around this, you know, about the same thing, like addiction, suicide, all of those emotions. How can people cope with that? Do you have any advice?
So starting with addiction, the
Hmm.
number one thing is to acknowledge that there's a problem. To acknowledge that, man,
Yeah.
I've been depressed lately. I am drinking more than normal, or my spouse is concerned about my drinking. So it's not a weakness to acknowledge that there is a problem. The
Yeah.
second thing is to find help. So you may need to be admitted into a program if they're open, or you may need to seek out help from a clinician or somebody who can hold you accountable.
Hmm.
Definitely acknowledging that there's an issue is step number one.
Yes.
And along with anything else, really, oh, I feel more suicidal. I'm preoccupied with death more so than ever, or anything that is going wrong, and you find that you're out of sorts. Definitely reach out to professionals, and get help, or to family members, or acknowledging to your spouse, to your partner, that, you know what, just staying home has been exhausting. I found myself drinking more and more. I need to get help. Please don't shy away from asking for help. Find ways, find people that you trust, people that care about you, people that want to see you do better. But also acknowledge that this has been stressful for everyone.
Yeah.
That don't blame yourself for what's going on. No one has experienced this, I mean, in their lifetime. A lot of people have never experienced a pandemic, so this is new to us. So as we deal with it, we are having to adjust, readjust, and cope with it. So be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and ask for help.
That's great. It's good advice. But let's face it, not everybody has access to help or mental health care. And oftentimes, when you're dealing with mental illness, it can be overwhelming trying to find someone that you feel comfortable opening up to. What would you suggest to someone who is in this situation?
Ah, the number one thing is definitely acknowledging that it is difficult, especially right now, to find service providers. Um,
Yeah.
there are crisis lines. So I'm going to start with the most severe cases. If you find yourself feeling as though you want to take your own life,
Yeah.
there are crisis lines wherever you may be. If you see that somebody is extremely depressed and about to hurt themselves, reach out to somebody, reach out to 911 if the case is that severe, and get them help immediately. Um, so while we acknowledge that it's hard to get these services right now, there are people that you can reach out to. I hope that there's at least that one person you can reach out to that will listen to you, that will guide you and direct you in the right direction.
Yes.
I pray for that. I hope there's that. For some of us, some of you, it may be your church elders that are willing to hear what's going on with you, pray with you, and refer you to a professional. For some of us, it's our moms. For some of us, it's our dads. For some of us, it's our partners. For some of us, it's our friends that are like sisters or that are like brothers. Please at least have one or two people that you can reach out to. And if you don't, certainly pick up the phone. There are some, find out what the crisis lines phone numbers are if you are at that point, and talk to somebody. But
Yeah.
there's different ways of reaching out.
And there are nonprofits that offer, stipends to people who need mental health care services that you can look up. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, Google's, yeah, free, they're free services.
Yeah.
When we are able to, sometimes we do offer those services to individuals that need them. We
Yeah.
are limited though to providing services here in California because we are licensed, but we
Yeah.
do have a number of individuals that cannot afford them, have no jobs right now. We
Yes.
have a few individuals that we offer free services.
Yes.
But when we find that our hands are tied, we that's why we're creating a channel where people can come and act as a supportive community, where I will be in that forum as well. People will be asking questions, and I'll be more than glad to answer and support.
Yes.
Answer and support only, and refer. Uh,
Great.
but feel free to reach out to those forums on YouTube or Facebook. There's some Facebook groups for moms. I belong to one with of therapists, so we can support each other because we have never we've been inundated with patient care. So we are a support network for ourselves on there. Find your groups for nurses, for doctors, for and share with one another. Be somewhat transparent with one another and share what's going on for you. This is not a time to have that mask and act like everything is going on, because we know the world, the whole world, nothing is going on the way it should right now for anyone.
Yes. I agree. So, tell us a bit about your nonprofit, Happier, Healthier, Productive, and what you do, and how can we support you if somebody wants to donate financially, or just, what can we do to support you in your efforts with Happier, Healthier, Productive?
Oh, the number one we think the number one thing we need right now is definitely how would you say prayer,
Hmm.
that we can keep on. This has been very, very challenging for us because we've never seen this high level of crisis care and need. So definitely good thoughts, prayers, and just thinking about us when you see suicide, because we hear about it. So thinking about us, praying for us. So Happy, Healthy, Productive Inc. was developed in 2018. It's only 2 years old. It's a nonprofit whose
Yeah.
goal is to educate the community, to support the community in mental health, and to help prevent worsening cases of depression, anxiety, or just mental illness as a whole. So
Yeah.
we do go into schools where we provide services to students on the school campus. Due to transportation issues for parents, we go into schools and we're there. Um, Currently, our largest caseload consists of veterans. Grateful that we're serving our nation's veterans, and
Yeah.
also our active duty service members. Awesome ability for us, an opportunity to serve those who fight, those who are fighting, those who fought, and those who are fighting for our freedom. Those are our largest populations right now, and of course, underserved families. And I mentioned that we do provide some free services for those who cannot afford services, especially right now.
Mm.
How to support us is anything, anything would help so that we can continue providing these free services. If you would like to know on how to support us, definitely our office, we have a website, happierhealthierproductive.inc, and on there you're able to support us in any way possible that
Okay.
you can.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Okay, so just we only have a few more minutes, but just a
Yeah.
couple more questions.
Mhm.
Just to kind of clear up some, I guess, misconceptions about therapy. Many people go into therapy expecting for someone to just fix them. What are some healthy expectations for a person to have from their therapist?
That's an awesome question because, yes, often people think, well, I'm here, you're the shrink, what's going on?
Yeah,
So I usually tell people when you go to therapy, treat your therapist as though you're going to a grocery store.
yeah,
You don't go to a grocery store and go to the cashier and say, what should I buy? Same thing with us. When you come in, get a bang for your buck or time if you're getting free sessions.
yeah,
Come with a list of things that you would like to talk about, that you would like to resolve. So a typical session with me would start with a phrase such as, "So how do you want to spend our time today?"
yeah,
And simply that means, "What would you like to talk about today?" So people
yeah,
say, "Well, Dr. Crystal, how do I figure out what to talk about?" So the beauty about our human life is that there are patterns. So the way to know what you may want to talk about is there's some things that may pop up in your mind during the week. You'd be
yeah,
sitting and you're, oh, I need to go back to school. Oh, this really bothers me what my dad did or what my mom said. Or so those things that keep popping up in your mind are really, it's your soul or your spirit saying you need to pay attention to this. So if you go to therapy, definitely have a list of things. What is it that bothers you? What is it that you want? What are your goals in your life? What we work collaboratively side by side with you with what you give us. It's almost like going to a mechanic. You won't go to a mechanic and say, I need you to fix my car, but my car is at home. No, you take the car with you and you tell the mechanic, it's making this sound over here, or it's running this way or that way. Same thing. My life is running this way or that way. This is what I don't like. This is the dissonance in my life. This is what I need help with. So we
yeah.
won't fix you. We will work with what you give us. So bring us something.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Awesome. So in your years of being a therapist, do you have any like success stories that stand out? So I just want to encourage people to really take advantage of therapy and having, for those people who might not believe in therapy, I still have even people in my age generation who are like, I don't do therapy. Like, so what are some success stories that you have that you can think of over your career span of people that maybe came to you very broken or dealing with depression, anxiety, veterans you've worked with, or something where they really turned around and are doing much better, in your opinion?
Wow. Well, to start with, anybody that walks into our office,
Yeah,
anybody that is bold enough to walk into our office, that is already a success story. And I know we would expect a success story to be, I was about to kill myself, and I went to Dr. Chris's office, and that now here I am. That is a success story. But for those who have had a bad experience with mental health, or those people who um, I've just ventured out and said, you know what, I am going to get help. Sam, to me, that is a success story. I have definitely worked with individuals in the music industry as well who were at their wits' end or who were really, really depressed. Uh,
yeah,
and they came in, and we don't take the credit for that, because if you didn't come to us, there would be no success story. But
yeah,
so I hope this question answers your question,
yeah.
answers your question.
Hmm.
But success to us means once you acknowledge that you need help and you seek it out, that is success to us.
Gotcha.
And We have thousands and thousands of people that have, not thousands and thousands, but thousands of people have walked through our office. And those to us are a success in that they noticed something was not working right and they came to us.
Awesome. And I
Mhm.
know I said I had one more question, but this question, I feel is very important to me. Just one more. Because we're living in a very politically charged time right now where it's like our nation is divided, people are divided, even couples are divided, and based on their political beliefs, or everything's being challenged right now. Differences in opinion and how to go about the vaccine. It's just very, 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 very challenging right now. What advice can you give to us listeners, on how to handle those types of conflicts? Maybe a loss of friendship, loss of family member, you don't speak to your father anymore, or just because of political differences and things like that. I think that's a really important question for us right now, because we're all so divided due to these elections, and even just with COVID, how to handle COVID. Like, a lot of people believe that you should lock down and be in quarantine, while others are like, no, I want to have my freedom. And we're just, seems like we're constantly bickering with one another. How can we, not, obviously I'm not asking you for a solution for this, but like, how can we manage our mental health with all this conflict that's going on right now?
Definitely, what I'd mentioned earlier, to be aware of what affects you and how it affects you.
Yeah.
I've found that as human beings, we get into conflict a lot when we try to convince people about what we believe or what we want and how we want things to be. When we become controlling, then there is a problem. When we want to convince people or when we judge people based on their beliefs. So I found, and I'll share what works for me. Different people would answer this question differently,
Yeah.
but I find my relationships are healthier when I know where I stand and seek to understand where the other person is coming from. I
Yeah.
don't need to convince them. I have nothing to prove to them. I have nothing to convince them about. But if it works for me, doesn't mean that it will work for you. Just really understanding that people interpret things differently and people have different perspectives on actually what's going on. I mean, how many theories are out there about what's going on right now?
Yeah.
But it always boils down to you. How does it affect you? How do you feel about it? What do you think about it? What do you need to do so that you can reach homeostasis, a balance that's good for you? So if you've fallen out with anyone right now, ask yourself, why? Why did I fall out with this person? Was I trying to convince them to vote this way or that way? Was I trying to have them embrace my view and my opinion about this, that, or the other? At the end of the day, seek healing, number one, for yourself. And
Yeah.
then number two, as you seek healing for yourself and the conflict that has occurred, that will help heal other people. Seeking to be at peace with yourself and with your maker, your creator, seeking to be at that peaceful place with yourself, number one, and
Hmm.
not seeking to control others' views and thoughts. Live and let live,
Yeah.
yet know where you stand and how to take care of yourself internally without trying to touch the sky.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Dr. Christo, this was so awesome. Like, I hope this inspires you to do more of these, because you're just such a valuable resource and just human being, like, just amazing. I just feel honored to call you friend, and just feel so blessed to have had you on our show today. And I really hope that our viewers got some, I know our viewers got something from this.
Oh,
And those that are going to watch it later on, I'm sure they're going to be extremely blessed by it. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time. And I'll be praying for you that
thank
God
you.
keeps you strong. Because I know, like, being a therapist right now is, must be such a challenging job. But if anybody can do it, I know it's you.
Oh, thank
So,
you. I do it gracefully. But Sam, I do want to thank you too for what you're doing in the community. And I do want to thank you for using your gift of music. I mean, you're one of those people with so many gifts and talents. I think you find yourself torn or pulled because you have so many gifts. Sam, thank you for
thank you.
blessing us with your music and the poetry, bringing this on. You're very bold, and I do want to thank you for that. I want to thank our viewers. I do want to thank you for this forum, and you have encouraged me to do more and more of these. If there's a need, definitely let me know. I would be more than glad to support anyone in any way possible.
Okay. Well, thank you all for watching. We hope that you
Thank
got
you.
something great from this program today. And like we say at Truth Tuesday, know the truth so you can be set free. God bless and have a great rest of your week. Okay.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.